Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.
To give you a quick brief that these are the considerations that are very important because that relates directly to the safety and the security of the students and the teachers and all the education officials at the schools particularly. So this is very important. Also in terms of the what knowledge that need to be transformed to the teachers and the head teachers and other officials, and also what are the simple technical understanding of, for example, on what equipment will be used at the schools at the entry level, at the entry, for example, to gauge the temperature, and also some of the other facilities that need to be available in the school, for example, in terms of the hand washing, the pedal hand washing facilities, etc. So these are the considerations that are very important for the schools to understand. Uh, So I think I would request colleagues to just please go through quickly for a couple of minutes and read those consideration, and then we can reflect on that in the next slides. Yeah. Just on the better understanding, as you read this, there's need to be a referral process, that if the students are coming to the schools or the education officer coming to the schools and they are having the symptoms related to the COVID, so what's going to be the referral process? What facilities or the support that's available for the students and others if there are those issues? It's also important to understand that how the screening will be done at the school level, because this is important and everybody has to go through with that. So this is a process that that may require the time. They may require the arrangements in the morning, or if the schools is going to be open again in the afternoon or the evening session. So this is something that's important to consider. Uh, it's also important that to see for the school management that what type of PPE, the personal protection equipment that is available at the schools level, how they're going to be purchased, what funds are available, and if not those funds immediately, so then how is going to be the procurement will take place. This is very important. Um, it's equally important that this needs to be considered for the larger schools where a lot of visitors come in for different reasons. And also the monitoring staff and other staffs, how they follow the same SOPs. So it doesn't end in the morning when everybody is coming to the schools, but during the whole process, as we earlier mentioned in the previous sessions, that we need to have a holistic approach, considering all these schedules during the schools from the start to the end, that needs to be kept in mind, including the visitors as well. Um, just to help a little bit more on understanding on this, that there are different type of masks, there are different guidelines that are available, and also we would like to encourage you to consult those guidelines that are issued by UNICEF and also the WHO. Different type of masks that the children need to wear, which grades, which age group, and what are the correct use of face masks. So I think this is very important. So we don't unnecessarily engage in the student for the precautionary measures, and we just focus on what needs to be done and how. This is important. Otherwise, the students may feel discouraged. They may be the kind of a fear in their mind. So I think this is something that need to be understood. This is also important as you move forward and have the trainings. There might be questions that these SOPs seems a little bit difficult to implement, and who is going to take the decision. And also, some of the colleagues have already raised this point. So I think this is important, that the clarity is provided, and this will come more when the decision is coming from the school education department. But perhaps it's very important that the school continues to reflect on what is happening in the schools prior to the schools, when the teachers and the education staff is there, and start preparing the schools to welcome the students for that particular week or the days. I think it's important to see what are the measures that are very practical and possible, what are the challenges that need to be addressed. So this communication must go from the school to the education managers. So then they help the school education department to make any necessary and arrangements that needs to be done. It's also important that necessary equipment and the different equipments that needs to be provided to the schools so that they cope with this challenge. Um, from the child perspective, from the rights of the child perspective, again, this is important that we look into that aspect, that there's no incident of violence or any abuse. For example, if the child or education official is identified with the symptoms, so there's arrangements that is sufficient and comfortable for those persons, that should be available at the school level. This is very important. So Akram, we can move to this slide on for a few minutes. I think this is important, that keeping the consideration that we have just discussed, that the colleagues can reflect on what must be done in the schools to implement health and IPC requirement. This is important because this will reflect on what are the challenges that you think, what are the ideas that you have in your mind that can be implemented, and some of the things that are still very good, but that's something that's not possible, or something in terms of the innovations you think that there are different ways or the strategies to cope with this challenge, because these are the few of the consideration in terms of the health and the infection prevention control. This is something a very important knowledge. This is something a better understanding of the equipment that need to be used, something that relates to the health precautionary measures, etc., that need to be need to be there in terms of the understanding at the school level, and how this is going to be used, and what are the implications. So this is something that need to be there in terms of the knowledge and understanding at the school level, and this is something that's going to be one of your major focus when you have further training at different levels. So here we can allocate few of the minutes. For example, then 5 minutes for you to just note down and start reflecting on that. We don't have to necessarily wait for the completion of these 4 to 5 minutes. We can start writing in the chat box, and you can share your ideas by raising hand. So we can perhaps it's good to have a couple of minutes to just look at that, and to start sharing your ideas. You can use your notebook, or then you can reflect on the chat box as well. You can raise hand. So this is for your reflection on the ideas that are possible to be considered at the schools, and some of the things that you think are the challenges, or there are any innovative ideas that you want to share.
The schools have to be fully equipped in terms of the temperature checking instruments, and more over the disinfecting sprays, or the things which are being used for on the continuity basis. This is the most thing which is the important. And the second thing is that when schools opens, so we have to also evaluate that thing, that what is the ratio of the students or the teachers who have been affected by the COVID, because when schools are going to be open overall, in many areas still we are finding the COVID patients, or those persons who have that virus, affecting this virus. So this assessment will also help us that we stop that areas, they may not open the schools. And most important thing is that who will provide these instruments to the schools, who will assure it before opening of the schools. Thank you.
Yes, Mirasan Saab, please.
Yes, Akam-san. With the curse of this training will be the implementation of these SOPs in a true spirit. It's a human factor that we very quickly forget things, and when we have gotten, we have been trained and have been provided different things, but often we forget them what has been done here. So therefore, I here would like to advise that every school, I think not every school, but so many schools have a PTI teacher, means physical training teacher. If in every school, not in every school, but where he is available, we appoint him as a implementer or as a monitor of these SOPs, then I think this will be very significant. And he will continuously monitor everything ground. He will monitor the movement of the students on the ground. He will monitor the movements in the washing areas and even during other activities of the schools. So he can be a big source for implementing these SOPs. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for schools and for us to see them being implemented in terms of SOPs. Thank you.
Ishtiyaq Saab, please. Ishtiyaq Qureshi Saab.
Yes, sir. Actually, I wanted to add that infrared thermometers are very important for the quicker scanning. Because normal thermometers cannot be sufficient for the larger populations, and you know that students will be entering at same time. Most probably, then screening is very important, and infrared thermometers will be needed. But I had attended some meetings earlier in RSU, and former CPM RSU used to tell that a school-specific budget has been, it's just the matter of past, it has been eliminated by government. So if a school-specific budget is eliminated, how schools will ensure buying these PPEs? And there's another suggestion that masks and gloves shall be given by the family, because distributing masks and gloves in the school after arriving of the students will certainly increase the risk of infecting others. Thank you.
Nisar Saab, Nisar Ahmed Dahri. Nisar Saab.
I think there may be some technical issue with Mr. Nisar due to internet
Okay.
devices.
Okay, then Zahir Abbas Saab.
Yes, Akram sir, thank you very much. A few things. Number one is a monitoring of students to wear the mask and use of their own eatable things and material which they are using. So if there is a proper monitoring system in the school through committees or any committee or any if we are developing in the school system, so it can be easily manageable. Secondly, if there is a temperature checking in our school system, we don't have a proper person who can check the temperature. So what will be the procedure of health department and education department in this connection? So please elaborate this too also. Thank you.
Asif, do you want to take that question and answer it?
Yes, I think these are the few important questions that was raised by colleagues. One was that on the use of the SMC fund, I think there's a very strong internal consideration for that. The funds that are already available with the school management committees, and some of them that need to be further provided to the SMCs from the finance department. The available fund and the funding that has to be released, I think the school education department may make a decision in coming days. So I think that this is something that will be coming up, and we are very hopeful for that. This will resolve some of the queries or of the majority of the schools, that where are those equipments when they are coming, or if they are going to buy that. So this is something that that will be informed the school education department in coming days. We also make a kind of uh, a push or something that we have to reiterate with the school education department from our side as well. But there is a consideration. Secondly, on the monitoring, so I would suggest this perhaps to think that it's a kind of a support monitoring for the schools, and this is something that the school education department is also considering to establish those monitoring committees at the district level. And it's also important, and perhaps you will see that the health department representative will be there. So this will help in many ways, including, for example, use of the equipment. For example, one of the colleagues has mentioned the thermal gun. The use of the thermal gun, it doesn't require a lot of training. It's just a very simple way to use it. But I think that the steering committee in the preparatory, the week or the preparatory days, I think this is something that district monitoring committee would also be able to help the schools on the use of the guns. Another point, that use of the face masks or provision of the face masks, different type, etc. So this is something that perhaps school are not prepared yet to provide the face masks to the students. The availability of the funds, the procurement and other, perhaps this seems a little bit of challenge. So perhaps school education department might need to think about that, and may request the parents or the communities to provide the face masks. Regarding the gloves, hand gloves, I think perhaps we are not very sure that how they are going to help in the case of the children. So this is something that the SOPs or the guidelines will be helping you to understand better on that as per the needs. So this is something that will be related to the use of the gloves. Yes. Or so Akram,
Asif,
if you,
just
yeah,
Asif,
please,
I just wanted to. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add a couple of things on the use of the thermal guns. Yes, actually, most people can operate one of those guns quite easily. In schools in Malaysia, like the security guards were allocated the role of checking temperatures, but obviously the difficult thing is if a child has a temperature that is above the agreed temperature, what is the process then? So as long as the child's temperature is under is under 37.5 or whatever the agreed is, then that's fine. Children can flow through the school. But as soon as there is a child or a teacher who has a temperature above that, then a very clear process needs to be put in place to ensure that the child is separated from the others, is safely returned home. So that's the complex thing with taking temperatures. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Vanessa. So Akram, if you can just move quickly to the colleagues who have raised hands, if there are any question that we need to respond, so we can go for 3 or 4 questions, please.
Okay, let me check chat box as well. You can ask Allah Nawaz Channa Saab.
Hello. Okay, I was listening the discussion. It was very fruitful discussion. I would like to suggest 2 or 3 things. I would like to add 2 or 3 things in this way. First of all, after the reopening of the school, a parent-teacher meeting may be arranged at the school to aware them about the safety measures. Secondly, if they can afford, they send their children with the proper safety equipment. Secondly, the arrangements of checking the temperature may be installed at the gates. If someone has the temperature, he may be stopped there. The most important thing is that the DRR intervention has been done in the schools, and safety committees uh, uh, has been comprised in the school, so they can play important role in the school safety. Other thing is that the availability of equipment is not the only the part of the government. Some charity or some well-to-do people can play important role in this because it.
Hi, Asif, are you going to respond to that?
Yes, I think we can move on to the next slides because we're just running a bit short of time as per the schedule. But it's the question that was raised was very important, that the provision of the supplies, the equipments, and also the capacities to train them. That's very important. Provision of the supplies, I think this is something that school education department will reflect soon on that. So this is going to be very important information coming from the school education department. But apart from that, I think the capacities or the needs to plan around this is very important, which the school has to think very clearly and to implement before the school reopening. As I mentioned, that maybe it's going to be one whole week, or it may be the few days when the schools need to prepare without the students. So this is something that's likely. Um, I'm saying likely because the decision has not been made yet. But for that preparation period, I think this is important to that the school management committees and the teachers, head teachers, the managers at the school level, including the taluka level and the DOs, they talk how they're going to have those plans ready, or the equipment, that what are the alternate options that are available for them. So I think we wait for the more clarity from the school education department, but I think that's need to be a comprehensive plan that need to be put in place at the school level. So this is important. With this, we move forward to the next slide. These are the different ideas for implementing health and IPC equipment. As you see, that's most of them we have already discussed, and I would just like to draw your attention to the point 4, which is about the school guard or the chokidar. I think this is important, and we don't really have to skip that part, because this is the first reception point for the students. Maybe perhaps their approach to the students or the parents who are there to drop their children at the school, maybe some of them, the students, may not be wearing the face masks. So how the chokidar or the guards are going to treat them, how they're going to guide them, or how they refer to this matter to the school committees or the school officials at the entry in the morning or afternoon or in the evening. So this is important, that the guards and the chokidars, they are a little bit having a kind of an orientation how they are going to treat those measures as well. The second, the following on the point 5, this is important. We have slightly discussed it, and Maniza has also mentioned that what the teachers and will be doing, and what are the procedures that need to be put in place. I think this is some of the things that we need to guide in the next trainings, that perhaps there's need to have a kind of a small quarantine facility at the school level. This is just a kind of a waiting procedures for the parents to come and pick the children. This is something that the school can think about in case of the larger schools, and this is possible to do that. Um, this also includes that if the child is found or complaining about the symptom, having the symptom, or the education official, so what's going to be kind of the procedures, who if there is any trained officials to talk, or there's any psychosocial support that need to provide it. So this is important, that we need to consider that. This is also important from the perspective of the mental health and the psychosocial support perspective as well. It's a kind of a first aid that can be provided to the affected person, the child, or the education staff, so that we avoid the stigma that is there. For example, around the COVID issue, or provide the kind of a comfortable environment for those who have those complaints, etc. So this is important. Secondly, at the school level, it's important to have these IEC materials, the information, education, and communication material for different beneficiaries, the students, the families, and the teachers, the school management committees. And there are a few things that are very important. I think that we need to be very clear what we need to communicate, what are the posters, banners, and the communication that we have to establish within the schools. One is that, for example, on the COVID prevention, that what are the different modes of transmissions, how we can prevent ourselves from the spread of COVID. This is very important. Secondly, on the correct hand washing procedures, there are different steps that need to be communicated to students. So then they use those correct methods. So the IC materials, the banners, posters, they have those messages available in the schools. The third is the correct use of masks. This is important that the children know from the different age group that what are the different type of masks they use and what are the different type of masks that are available to them if in case the schools are providing. So then the ways they can use it. The social or the physical distancing, what are the critical measures? I think this is something that have to be clearly displayed at the school level using those IC material as well. At different entry points and exit points, something that is related to that specific. This is something that has to be mentioned using the posters and the banners. So this is very important. Yes. This flow chart is similar to the one that we have discussed in the previous one. This is just to stimulate the understanding of the trainees that what are the different consideration and what needs to be done, the different actions that need to be adopted. For example, as you see on the left top corner, if the temperature screening required at every schools, what are the different measures that need to be done? For example, if the answer is yes, which is perhaps it's very important that we have to identify the location for the control point. So then those the equipments that are there, what are the different type of the capacities that need to be there, who will administer that. So this is very important. So if, for example, if this screening equipments that are not available, so what are the measures that need to be done? So you see there are different measures that have been provided here. For example, if the face masks that are not available or that are not required, for example, but in this case they are required. So what are the measures that need to be adopted? How the information will go on to the teachers, the staff, and the families, the school management committees in terms of the preparedness when they come to the school. So then the student, when they enter, they have those face masks available with them, and if not, that how the school is going to provide them. So these are the different considerations mentioned here in terms of on the flow chart. So this is important for the consideration of the trainees, what kind of measures they are there, the consideration, and what are the decisions or the implication of those decisions in terms of the different use of the IC material and the equipment as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So with this, yes,
yeah, I was going to say, Asif.
yes. Now we are just about to close this session, and I'll hand over to you. But if there's something that in parallel, if the colleagues have any the question or something that they think that's important to mention, so they can use a couple of minutes for do that. And in the meanwhile, Vanessa, over to you.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going to actually take a break now. So this might be a good opportunity. If you have any questions about social distancing, we can come back and start with that. We had planned to have only a 15-minute break, but I'm conscious that it is 12:25. So Asif, do you think we should have a slightly longer break? Would people like to have a longer break? and to come back maybe at 1 o'clock. We've got about 45 minutes to go in the second part of this training. So Asif, do you think a slightly longer break, or do you think people would like to come back after 15 minutes? I'm suggesting either 15 minutes or 35 minutes and come back at 1 o'clock.
I think, I mean, maybe the participants or the colleagues may not like it, but I think we can go for a shorter break, because then it's going to be lunchtime and the prayer time.
Sure.
So if you go for half an
yes.
hour, so it will be a little bit mixed up with that schedule.
Yeah.
So I think if we go
Okay.
for a shorter break, so the
Yep.
participants, our colleagues will be able to manage the rest of the session, and then afterwards their lunch.
What time is the prayer session?
It's in the most normally 1:15 or 1:30. So I think this is something that we can manage.
15 minutes break. 15 minutes.
We'll take a 15-minute break.
Is okay, I think, yeah.
Perfect. All right, so everybody just take a break, and we'll be back in 15 minutes, which will be at 12:40. Thank you very much.